using it in her house in the form of candy bars or whatever, and you're in the back room with your girlfriend having.
And you have an opportunity for a job?
Yeah, I have an opportunity to job. I have a neighbor that does construction. So
does your neighbor know that you're doing marijuana?
In a Bexar County, Texas courtroom, Judge Stephanie Boyd handed down rulings in two significant cases today. The first involved 20-year-old Alonzo Taylor, who appeared for sentencing after entering a no-contest plea on a felony charge. On the day of sentencing, Taylor tested positive for marijuana, prompting sharp criticism from the judge. He was sentenced to 5 years of deferred adjudication, along with strict conditions including a curfew, GPS monitoring, regular drug testing, and a requirement to complete 90 sober meetings in 90 days. The second case involved 60-year-old Edward Ramirez, who was on probation for a 2021 theft offense. Ramirez explained that he had left the courthouse due to a medical emergency, but records showed he had also failed a drug test for cocaine that same day. Rather than sending him to jail, the judge extended his supervision by 18 months and ordered him into inpatient drug treatment, while barring him from living with or caring for his parents.
You're telling me that your neighbor wants to hire you and your neighbor knows that you're doing marijuana. Tell the truth.
no, ma'am.
Here's the other thing. Do not be dishonest with me. I do not like when people are dishonest.
Kind of dirty.
Okay.
All right.
Kind of dirty. You said kind of dirty.
Dirty for what?
Marijuana, I think.
No, it's not marijuana. I think you know what you were using. So what have you used? Let me put you under oath. Can you?
One courtroom, two lives, one judge holding the scales of justice. This is Bexar County, Texas, where Judge Stephanie Boyd faced two difficult decisions today. The first case, Alonzo Taylor, just 20 years old. After entering a no-contest plea in a felony case, he arrived for sentencing only to test positive for marijuana that very day. Judge Boyd didn't hold back her frustration, calling out his lack of structure and his dishonesty about employment. The verdict, 5 years of deferred adjudication, but under strict watch, a curfew, GPS tracking, drug testing, and 90 sober meetings in 90 days. The second case, Edward Ramirez, 60 years old. On probation since 2021 for theft, he suddenly walked out of the courthouse. His reason, a medical emergency and too much shame to return. But the truth was darker, a failed cocaine test on that same day. The judge showed mercy. No yal. Instead, 18 months of extended supervision, mandatory inpatient treatment, and a painful new restriction. He could no longer live with his own parents.
To say like a hotel, motel. That should not be happening. And you know why? Because it sets a bad example for his siblings. And then your home becomes a hotel, motel. The only difference is they don't have to pay for it.
Jason Deerhead, Your Honor.
For the defense.
Greg Gamer for the defense.
We are here for.
Gamer.
Could you spell your last name for the court reporter, please?
Yes. DES is in Sam. MARAIS is in Sam.
Thank you.
Sorry about the S.
So we're here for sentencing today. You entered a plea on March 29th of no contest, and you applied for deferred adjudication. According to the plea bargaining agreement, punishments be assessed at a cap of 5 years, and the state is silent on your application. All right, have both parties had a chance to review the PSI report?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
Any objections to the PSI report?
No objections, Your Honor.
All right, defense.
Your Honor, I'd like to say a few words and then call Alonzo and his mother up if that's possible.
Yes.
Okay. So the first thing, Judge, as you go through this PSI, the thing that sticks out is criminal history, obviously. This young man just turned 20, April 8th. And as we just talked out there, I'm saying you're the perfect candidate for probation because of this. You're at a crossroads. Your life is going to be defined by what you do from now on. You've already made this thing as since a 12-year-old, if you go back with those ages. He does have certificates for construction that he can work. He does have a job. He does not have any dependents. I talked to him about his alcohol and drug use, and he's saying that is not happening.
All right, if you drug tested today, what are the results going to be?
Probably dirty.
Okay.
All right.
Judge Stephanie Boyd handled 2 cases in Behar County Court. First, Alonzo Taylor, 20 years old, tested positive for marijuana, sentenced to 5 years of deferred adjudication with curfew and GPS monitoring. Second, Edward Ramirez, 60 years old, violated probation, failed a cocaine test. The judge skipped jail time and instead ordered 18 months of extended supervision plus inpatient drug treatment.
Kind of dirty. You said kind of dirty.
Dirty for what?
Marijuana, I think.
No, it's not marijuana. I think you know what you were using. So what have you used? Let me put you under oath. Can you raise your right hand for me, please? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you can lower your hand and you're going to have to speak up so the court reporter can hear. So what are you going to be dirty for?
Marijuana.
And what else? All right, before we continue, I'm going to want a UA.
Yes, Judge. All right. They're going to give you a UA. Do we need
Yes.
to?
Okay.
Okay. Alonzo, right here.
All right, we're back on the record. So when's the last time you used marijuana?
About a week ago, it was a candy bar.
Okay, you're going to need to speak up. Right now is not the time to be too cool for school.
It was about a week ago. It was a candy bar site. My voice is just kind of deep and low.
Right. So why are you doing marijuana when you know you have sentencing and you know I could send you to prison for 5 years? Because I'm sure your attorney will tell you, and I'm sure the state will tell you, in this court, age is just a number. I'm not going to treat you like a child because you're not a child. You're in adult court. I don't know why people want to use some drugs before they come to court and then try to throw themselves on the mercy of the court. State is silent, but you're here for a serious offense where you could end up going to prison for 5 years. And I will tell you this, if you end up going to prison for 5 years, it's not your mom's fault. It's not your attorney's fault. Because I'm sure your attorney probably already told you that I always, well, not always, but usually ask for a drug test. And all you had to do was come into court clean today. And if I were to send you to prison today, which I haven't made up my mind on that, it would be entirely your fault because your criminal history.
Today we're looking at 2 court proceedings from Behar County, Texas, both presided over by Judge Stephanie Boyd. Case 1, State of Texas versus Alonzo Taylor. The 20-year-old defendant had entered a no-contest plea on a felony charge. On his sentencing day, he tested positive for marijuana. The judge raised concerns about his lack of structure and dishonesty regarding employment. The ruling, 5 years of deferred adjudication, with a curfew, GPS monitoring, drug testing, and 90 sober meetings within 90 days. Case 2, a motion to revoke supervision for Edward Ramirez. The 60-year-old defendant was on probation for a 2021 theft offense. He said he left the courthouse due to a medical emergency, but he had also failed a drug test for cocaine that day. Instead of jail, the judge extended his supervision by 18 months, ordered inpatient treatment, and restricted him from living with his parents.
It's just insane for someone your age. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
So what are you doing with your life?
Well, I'm not going to say that, in the past that, it was a regret because jail kind of did help me out, I had problems that helped me.
All right, let's do this. Let's stop saying after every sentence. I want you to concentrate and try not to say A lot of people come before me and they say, it's like, well, like this and like that.
Okay.
Your attorney is also a teacher, as am I. And I will tell you, he does not like his children saying, it's like. So let's try not to have that when we speak.
Okay.
All right. Go ahead.
Well, I went to school for, construction. It's always been like a dream job, sorry, it's just how.
Can I ask him a few questions, Your Honor?
No, I want to.
Okay,
I want to hear him.
Well, I went to construction for about 3 years the school for construction, I got my NCCR, my OSHA.
See, it's hard. And I'm doing this not to make fun of you, but you have to learn how to speak, not like you speak with your friends, because this is a professional setting. And when you go do job interviews, people are not going to want to hear, it's like, you know. So concentrate on not saying those things. It's for the betterment of you. So concentrate, not saying that, and not saying, okay, and it's like. And I want you to stand up straight, and I want you to stop mumbling, and I want you to speak so I can hear you, because I'm trying to make a decision.
Sometimes a courtroom shows more than just the law, it shows humanity. That's what unfolded in a Behar County, Texas courtroom, where Judge Stephanie Boyd heard two very different stories today. The first belonged to Alonzo Taylor, just 20 years old. He had a chance to turn his life around after a mistake. But on sentencing day, a positive marijuana test complicated everything. Still, the judge gave him another chance. 5 years of deferred adjudication, paired with close supervision to help guide him back on track. The second story was Edward Ramirez, 60 years old. A medical emergency, a wave of embarrassment, and a failed cocaine test that only deepened his troubles. But the judge chose not to send him to jail. Instead, she offered him a path to recovery through inpatient treatment, even though it meant he'd have to stay away from his own parents.
Decision on whether or not to send you to prison.
Yes, ma'am.
So go for it.
I went to school for 3 years for construction. Since then, I got my NCCR, OSHA, and my level in carpentry, cabinets and stuff like that.
And do you have an
I have
opportunity for a job?
Yeah, I have an opportunity to job. I have a neighbor that does construction. So
Does your neighbor know that you're doing marijuana?
Yes, ma'am.
You're telling me that your neighbor wants to hire you and your neighbor knows that you're doing marijuana. Tell the truth.
No, ma'am.
Here's the other thing. Do not be dishonest with me. I do not like when people are dishonest. You cannot do construction and use drugs. If you do, something's going to happen. Either there's going to be an accident at the job, and I have relatives who do construction work. I have relatives who drive. Anytime there's an accident, the first thing they want them to do, whether it's their fault or not, is take a drug test. And if there were an accident at a construction site, they would have you take a drug test. You would be positive for marijuana like you're positive today, and you would be fired. And they would be looking at a civil suit because someone is on their site using drugs. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
And are you living with your mother?
Yes, ma'am.
I know she doesn't want drugs in her house.
Yes, ma'am.
Can I see his mom?
Absolutely. Ma'am, come on up.
Peter.
And you had requested her, Judge?
According to court records, Judge Stephanie Boyd issued rulings in 2 cases in Behar County, Texas. Case 1, State versus Alonzo Taylor. Defendant, age 20, entered a no-contest plea on a felony offense. A drug test administered on the day of sentencing returned positive for marijuana. The court noted concerns regarding the defendant's behavioral patterns and dishonest communication. Sentence: 5 years of deferred adjudication, with a curfew, GPS monitoring, mandatory drug testing, and completion of 90 sober meetings within 90 days. Case 2, motion to revoke supervision, Edward Ramirez, age 60, originally sentenced for a 2021 theft offense. The defendant left courthouse premises, citing a medical emergency. Records also indicate a failed drug test for cocaine on the same date. The court declined to impose incarceration. Supervision was extended by 18 months, inpatient drug treatment was made mandatory, and a restriction was placed on residing with or providing care for his parents. So let's talk about what happened in a Behar County, Texas courtroom, where Judge Stephanie Boyd dealt with 2 pretty interesting cases today. First up was Alonzo Taylor, a 20-year-old who'd already pleaded no contest in a felony case. But here's the thing, on the day he showed up for sentencing, he tested positive for marijuana. The judge was not happy. She basically called him out for having zero structure in his life and for lying about a job. In the end, he got 5 years of deferred adjudication, but with some serious strings attached: curfew, GPS tracking, drug tests, and 90 sober meetings in 90 days. Then there was Edward Ramirez, a 60-year-old guy on probation since 2021 for theft. He'd actually walked out of the courthouse, claiming a medical emergency and saying he was too embarrassed to come back. But turns out he also failed a drug test for cocaine that same day. This time, the judge skipped jail entirely. Instead, she extended his probation by 18 months, ordered him into inpatient treatment, and said he can't live with or take care of his parents anymore.